Hello and welcome. Have you ever been in a meeting and wondered why one person's idea just takes off while another, maybe even a better one, just fizzles out? It's not always about the idea itself. See, every single workplace, whether you're just starting out or you've been there for years, has this invisible architecture. It's what decides who gets listened to, who gets the budget, and who really calls the shots. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain and decode that architecture. Let's get right into this guide on organizational power and politics.
Okay, let's just be real for a second. The word power, it has some baggage, right? It can conjure up images of shady deals, ruthless ambition. It just sounds kind of negative, even a little corrupt. But what if I told you that's only one side of the coin?
Because here's the thing, power itself isn't good or bad, it's just there. It's like a current of electricity running through the office. Sure, on one hand, it can be used to manipulate and control people, absolutely. But on the other hand, it can be an incredible force for creativity, for empowering people, and for making really positive changes. So the real question isn't about whether power is evil, it's about how it's being used. And that's the game we're all trying to figure out.
So let's start right there. Let's reframe how we think about power. It's not some scary monster to be avoided. It's just a fundamental part of what happens when people work together. And honestly, getting a handle on it is your first step to really thriving in any new role.
So, what are we actually talking about? Well, at its very core, power is just the ability to influence someone else's behavior. It's about getting things done, but through other people. And the secret ingredient here, the thing that makes it all work, is dependence. If you have something that somebody else needs, whether that's a key piece of information, control over a budget, or even just your approval, well, then you have power in that relationship. It's that simple. I want you to think about your company like a building. You've got the official floor plan, the org chart that shows who reports to whom. But then there's this invisible blueprint, a blueprint of influence that shows how things actually get done. So let's take a look at the different kinds of power that make up this hidden map.
First up is the one we all know, power over. This is that classic top-down command and control style. It's all about dominance, and it works like a zero-sum game, which means for me to win, you have to lose. This is the boss who has to sign off on every little thing. That's power over, and it's often used when someone feels like they need to protect their turf.
But then you have something totally different. Power to. This isn't about controlling people at all. It's the exact opposite. It's about empowering them. This type of power is about giving people the freedom, the trust, and the resources they need to get creative and crush their goals. It's about building people up, not just telling them what to do.
Now, this next one is really interesting. It's more of a defensive move. Power from is your ability to just say no, to resist. It's the skill of pushing back against unwanted demands or negative influence from other people. You can think of it like your own personal force field at work. Pretty useful, right?
And finally, my personal favorite, power with. This is the power of collaboration. This is where the real magic happens. It's not about one person holding all the cards. It's about a group of people developing power together. It builds bridges, it solves conflicts, and it creates a kind of collective strength that you just can't get any other way.
Okay, so we've seen these different modes of power. But where does this stuff actually come from? Well, let's start with the formal sources, the ones tied to your job title. You've got coercive power, which is all about fear, the fear of a bad assignment or worse. Then you have reward power, which is the flip side. It's the carrot to the coercive stick. It's the ability to give out bonuses, promotions, or even just praise. And finally, there's legitimate power, which you get just by having a certain title. The CEO has it simply because, well, she's the CEO.
But here's the secret. A fancy title isn't everything. In fact, sometimes the most influential people in a company have no formal authority at all. That's because they've mastered the informal sources of power. Things like expert power. You have it if you're the only one who knows how to do something critical. There's referent power, which comes from just being liked and respected. People will help you just because they admire you. Then you have informational power, from knowing things others don't, and personal power, which is good old-fashioned charisma. The best part? These are the sources of power anyone can build, no matter what your job title is.
All right, so if power is the ability to influence, then politics is putting that power into motion. It's the real-world application. It's how you actually use your influence to get things done. And a lot of the time, this is the stuff that happens in the meeting after the meeting.
So what are organizational politics, really? Well, it's basically anything you do that's not in your official job description, but that you do to try and influence decisions. That could be building an alliance to get your project approved, or, Well, it could be something less positive, like quietly keeping a rival out of the loop. It's the whole unwritten, unspoken part of doing your job.
And you guessed it, just like power, politics has two faces. When it's used constructively, it's amazing. It can build support for great ideas, spark creativity, and help get everyone on board during a big change. But when it's used destructively, it can tear a team apart by spreading rumors, creating conflict, and just making the workplace toxic.
All right, let's get super practical now. It's time to open up the unofficial office playbook. We're going to look at the actual tactics people use to flex their influence and make things happen, whether that's for themselves or for the good of the whole team. So a huge tactic is building coalitions and networks, basically getting your allies lined up before you even make your big move. Another really savvy one is controlling the premise of a decision. Maybe you get to set the meeting agenda, or you frame the problem in a way that makes your solution the obvious choice. You can also bring in outside experts to back you up, or just lean on your own deep knowledge. And sometimes, you know what? The best play is just a direct appeal, armed with great data and a clear, confident ask. But remember, this playbook isn't just about winning for yourself. Politics can be a huge force for bringing people together. For instance, you can create a special role for someone whose whole job is to be a bridge between two departments that don't talk to each other. You can face conflicts head-on with open negotiation. You could even have people temporarily switch departments to build a little empathy. Or you can create a shared mission, a goal so big and exciting that everyone has to work together to pull it off.
Okay, we've covered the theory, we've looked at the tactics, but what happens in the real world when office politics goes unchecked and turns sour? Let's trace the domino effect. It all kicks off when people start seeing the political environment as a threat. The constant guessing games, the backstabbing, the feeling that you can't trust anyone. It creates this atmosphere of constant, low-level fear and uncertainty. And that feeling of being threatened, it leads directly to a spike in anxiety and stress. People start spending more energy watching their backs and trying to decode hidden agendas than they do actually focusing on their work. It's exhausting. So what happens when good people get exhausted? Well, the ones with options, your most talented, passionate employees who just want to do great work, they eventually decide it's not worth it. They start looking for the exit, and you end up with a revolving door of talent. And the final domino to fall? For the people who do stay, morale just tanks, productivity drops, and with all that negativity and wasted energy, the performance of the entire organization takes a hit. It is a classic lose-lose-lose situation.
So, at the end of the day, it comes down to this. Power is just a tool, the ability to influence, and politics is just the process of using that tool. They are unavoidable, they are part of any group of people working together. They aren't good or bad on their own. And now that you understand the blueprint, now that you've seen the playbook, the only question left is, how are you going to use them? Thanks for watching.